it's 85th and Wade. Thanks for joining me today. Now, this is the kickoff to the month-long sewing challenge, hashtag Sew Romp Jump Play 22. I am super excited to start off this challenge with a collaboration from Holly of Hollywood Wear, the fabulous Holly. And I are kicking off the challenge with a date night play. Hence all the sparkly in this updo, y'all. Okay, so for today's episode, I'm going to do a very quick review of McCall's 7908. It is the pattern that Holly and I agreed to make and share for the kickoff. Now, if you didn't see my previous video, this is a month-long challenge to celebrate National Jumpsuit Day, which happens on October 26th. So it'll be myself and others who will bring to you patterns and makes and considerations to celebrate this month-long challenge. Now, for this jumpsuit, I'll have to say, I was not just a wee bit, but a whole lot nervous in terms of, could I pull this off? So it is a very couture jumpsuit. As you see, a whole lot of exposure here at the top on the view that I made. And I wasn't quite sure, but I figured, you know what? Let's just power through it. So in this review of my experience, we'll talk about sizing, pattern, pieces, and how I constructed it, and then give you my overall rating. Now, to begin with, I'll have to say, unfortunately for sizing, I somehow lost my pattern envelope. I have no idea where this thing is. It's somewhere in this house, hopefully, but I could not put my hands on it. On the website, somethingdelightful.com, it actually lists the sizing available of 6 to 22 US. So a fairly decent range, hopefully something that the majority of us will be able to use. As far as the size I made a straight size 16, and we'll talk about that a little later. As far as pattern pieces, there are 11 pattern pieces in the envelope, which is fabulous because you have 3 different bodices and 3 different pants that you could use. This is sort of their create your own look or mix and match type of envelope. And so, you have put bodice 1 with pants 2 or bodice 2 with pants 3. So you can make a number of different looks using just one pattern envelope. So the view I chose, I think, was view C, or at least it's bodice 3, pants number 4, or technically pants number 1, but they call it pants number 4. And so for this, there was just 11 pattern pieces total. I only had to use 4. So that's the front and the back bodice, the front and the back pants. As far as interfacing, no interfacing. So you didn't have to cut out anything extra for interfacing. However, depending on your fabric, you will need to line the bodice. Well, they recommend that you line the bodice. If your fabric is, opaque enough, you could probably just get away with doing, a fold over neckline and, an armband and or arm side and be good to go. But I decided to just do it as is and went ahead and did a lining for the bodice of this as well. So there was 6 total pieces that I actually had to sew together. For notions, zero, no notions, no elastic, no anything. You just sew up these 6 pieces and you are good to go. So you just need fabric and thread, okay? Now, in terms of the order of steps, now I will go out of order in a heartbeat, okay? But because this was so simple and only had, there was a total of 55 steps, unique steps for, all 3 bodices and all 3 pants. However, I only had to use 11 steps to complete this entire outfit. And because of that, I stayed pretty much in order. I think when it comes to hemming the bottom and hemming arms, and of course this one doesn't have an arm, but definitely for the pants, whenever I sew up the very first seam of a pants, so whether that's the inseam or the side seams, whenever I sew up the very first seam, I go ahead and flip over the hem and press that in so that I don't have to try to do that once it's a full circle. So for that, I did go out of order, but for all of the other steps, because it was, you know, pretty easy breezy to go through, I just did it in the order of the instructions. Now, as far as difficulty, I'm going to give this a 1 out of 5. The reason I'm going to give this a 1 out of 5 is, one, it's a knit fabric, so it can always be just a little tricky in terms of stretching or not stretching out some of the places and having that waffling effect. And unfortunately, I do have some of that right here. I don't know if you can see it very well in the camera, but there is some of that for the neck or the shoulder chest band situation. So that's why I'm giving it a 1 out of 5, because that can make or break your outfit. Now for this, I don't know exactly what I need to do to get it to be perfection. If I need to, one, either go down a size, two, instead of using a zigzag stitch, which I did here, maybe using a straight stitch or some, and I've seen it in a couple other videos, some stretch thread to help, you know, pull that together. I'm not quite sure, but there is some waffling here, you know, just because it stretched out, or maybe I'm just not as full chested as the pattern intended the wear to be. And so unfortunately, that's just a little wavy. So that's why I'm giving it a 1 out of 5, because of course, as beginner sewists and even more advanced, that's something we always have to take into consideration. Other than that, very simple, very straightforward pattern to put together. I wouldn't say it could be number 1, but it could possibly be number 2 in terms of a pattern to sew up. And that's of course for the view that I have made. Now there are 2 other bodices. The pants are pretty much the same. One has a slit in it, which you know, may take a little bit more in terms of time and skill to get those right. However, the pants are, you know, pretty much easy breezy. So as far as difficulty, 1 out of 5. As far as my overall experience, a 5 out of 5. As I mentioned, very simple and straightforward to put together. The only thing that I didn't like, but it's a personal preference, is that you do have some slip stitching here at the shoulder to bring the front and back together on the lining side. Now you could very easily machine stitch that if you didn't feel like you know, slip stitching that, maybe even doing some tape, or you know, some of that double-sided tape or something to fuse it together, you know, if you totally wanted to get out of that. But again, no knock on the pattern itself. It's just not a preference of mine to do any hand stitching. Okay, finally, would I sew this again? Absolutely. I think I look pretty decent in it. As far as a final garment, like I said, it wasn't very hard because you have 3 different bodices as well as 3 different pants. You can create so many different looks out of this that no one would think, oh, you know, she's wearing the same thing 2, 3, 4 times over, depending on your fabric choices, whether it's something, you know, as bold or shiny as the one that I have. Bold and shiny for my preference, okay? Some of y'all like, girl, this is simple. But bold and shiny for me, or it can be just as simple as a very solid pattern, or, you know, a different type of pattern on fabric. So all in all, I will definitely sew this again. Now, I want you to head over to Holly's channel, check out what she made for the challenge. I am, again, so humbled to have so many sewists joining me this month. But check out Holly. If you haven't already, please like this video, comment below, tell me what you think of this pattern, think of this garment, and then think of it on me. Okay, so those are different. You know, you could like say, oh yeah, this looks great as a garment, but you're not doing it justice, or you know what, girl, you got it going on. I'm not fishing for comments in terms of, you know, stroking my ego. I'm just saying, leave some comments down below. Let me know how you feel. But definitely check out Holly. consider subscribing to my channel as well as hers. Thank you so much for walking through life with me on this sewing journey, and I'll see you next time. Bye.